the July 2020 meeting of the Albany Parks, Recreation, and Open Spaces Commission. Can we have a roll call?
Certainly. Commissioner Abbott?
Here.
Commissioner Armendariz?
Here.
Commissioner Chang Frank?
Here.
Commissioner Kent? Commissioner Martin? Commissioner Price? I'm sorry, did we get a response, Commissioner Price? She is here. Can you hear me? There you go.
Sorry, was that for me?
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, my speaker's going in and out. I apologize.
No, you're good. And Chair Beal?
I'm also present.
And Commissioner Kent?
Present.
Commissioner Martin? Excellent.
Okay, I see that all commissioners, it sounds like we have a couple extra ones, maybe, I don't know. Everyone's here, so let's get started. I'm gonna go ahead and do the land acknowledgement. The following land acknowledgement statement shall be read at the beginning of each City Council meeting and advisory body meeting for Albany City Council minute action, November 15, 2021. The City of Albany recognizes that we occupy the land originally protected by the Confederated Villages of Lejeune. We acknowledge the genocide that took place on these lands and must take strides to repay the moral debt that is owed to this indigenous people, specifically the Ohlone tribe. We thank them for their contributions, which have transformed our community and will continue to bring forth growth and unity. The City of Albany commits to sustaining ongoing relationship with the tribe and together build a better future for all that now make this their home. And with that, we move on to item number 2, approval of the minutes, June 9, 2022. Does anyone want to discuss the minutes, or is there a motion to approve them?
I move that we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Abbott?
Yes.
Commissioner Armendariz?
Yes.
Commissioner Chang Frank?
Abstain.
Commissioner Kent?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Abstain.
Commissioner Price?
Yes.
Chair Beal?
Yes, and I see the motion carries. The minutes are approved. Next item is item number 3, public comment. For persons desiring to address the advisory body, that's us, on an item that is not on the agenda. Please note that each speaker is limited up to 3 minutes. The Brown Act limits the Commission's ability to take in discussion items that are not on the agenda. Therefore, such items are normally referred to staff or comment for future agenda. So the key point being here, don't talk about the street tree removal on Ramona that's on the agenda, and don't talk about our subcommittees. Talk about anything else. So, do we have any, let's see here. Do we have any hands up? From the audience, I mean. Is there no one?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Oh, hi, Susan.
Yes, I've been unmuted. May I speak?
Yes, certainly.
Thank you. I'm Susan Schwartz, the head of Friends of Five Creeks, 25-year-old all-volunteer group working on creeks and watersheds. I hope you will read the 2-page letter that you should have received just this afternoon on basically what we are doing and continuing challenges. I want to speak about some of its quite varied points. We're installing tiny little automated monitors that will tell us water temperature and whether there is water in creeks in Cotonesis and Cerrito. I believe our interns are doing most of this work. I believe we're the first in this area to do it. They're getting pretty common in SoCal. And I hope that other groups will use them more as climate change and drought proceed. Different topic. We've written a letter to the Regional Water Quality Control Board about their coming requirements for flood control plans for the Albany bulb. You can read what we have to say. It's on our website, but I simply think that people like you who understand the importance of Albany's natural areas should acquaint yourself with this process and keep up with it. It could have quite serious effects. Things are going very well on Cerrito Creek. Cotonesis, they continue to get better. A lot is down to Margot Cunningham and her associates. And recently there's been a lot more help and attention from new staff at University Village. There's going to be a but. Berkeley has cleaned up with parking restrictions 6th and 10th Street, but 8th Street is basically now their designated asylum. There are a solid row of tents. This is not going to change as long as the other encampments have all been removed, the big ones in Berkeley, and People's Park people are getting all of the available housing. There's a weekly clinic, there are weekly showers, there's trash pickup. Berkeley is paying for the toilets for now, but a lot of these people are very seriously disabled. You can go down and see the wheelchairs. A lot of them are very seriously mentally disturbed. This is just the way it is given the choices our society have made, but it's having serious effects on the creek. For the first time, I'm going to ask you for some extra time. It's been 25 years. We still have no other way to communicate with you. You can cut me off if you want, anytime. This is the third year that Albany has not provided the promised meeting of stakeholders on Cotonesis. UC apparently said they would do it and didn't come through. There are.
So, are we allowed to give her extra time? Because we've only got 2. So can we give her like another minute? Is that okay, Isabel? Or?
Sure. Mm-hmm. It's to the pleasure of the chair.
Okay. And if the other attendees, to be fair, if the other attendees want an extra minute, I'll give it to them too.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Albany, Berkeley, and UC Berkeley continue to make decisions with no opportunity for input. Now, many things are getting better, as I said, but there is a desperate need for a resolution of who is going to deal with trash left outside the trash cans below 6th Street. UC won't pick it up. Our informal volunteers leave it there. So do the people at the ball fields and some homeless people. There are other items like this. There's no agreement on maintenance above 8th. Who's responsible for what? I would hope very much that you will ask what is going on with the project to complete the Creekside Trail. We can't get any information, and the money that's available to that, plans and a grant exist, but they're being eaten by inflation. That would be the second time because there was 20 years of money in the first Measure R.
Thanks, Susan, and thanks for your comment. Can we have the next speaker? I guess Izzy Brown, or
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
yeah, sounds good.
Great. Good evening. Thanks for this opportunity to speak to you all. My name's Izzy Brown, and I've been a resident in Albany since 2015 and the Greater Bay Area since 2000. I married into an Albany family that's been here since 1950s. My 2 daughters are in the AUSD, and we are active participants in many Albany community activities and programs and are grateful for the opportunities. I'm interested in seeing the installation of sand volleyball courts or badminton combo volleyball badminton court in Memorial and or Jules Terrace parks. In response to your Albany 2035 grant general plan and the Parks, Recreation and Open Spaces 2021 master plans documented interest in both sports fields and multi-use courts by providing, quote, attractive open spaces and high quality recreational facilities that serve children, youth, families, and seniors, end quote. I request this commission explore the feasibility of the installation of sand courts for the use of both volleyball and badminton. These sports are extremely popular, easy to learn, and played by people of all ages. And according to the pledgesport.org, badminton has a worldwide participation of 220 million people, and volleyball has 998 million participants worldwide. In comparison to soccer, they have about 265 million participants, basketball about half of volleyball at 450 million, and tennis a mere 60 million participants worldwide. In May, I sent a draft proposal to Parks, Recreation, and Open Spaces staff liaison requesting consideration of this project. In this draft, I proposed draft proposal. I outlined justification for sand courts and outlined the conversation Walnut Creek Parks and Rec and I have had, including their process, costs, and contractors. They currently have 3 pairs of sand courts in their city parks. They reported relatively low installation costs compared to installation of other types of courts and extremely low maintenance costs. If tonight's agenda item, Flex Court Subcommittee member selection, is the beginning of this conversation, thank you. I look forward to that discussion. I request being a part of that conversation, either formally or informally. And if Flex Court is not pertaining to the multi-use courts at Albany Parks, I request the discussion be an agenda item during subsequent meetings. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can we have the next speaker?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jeremiah. Good evening, Chair Beal. Good evening, everybody. I agree with the last people for sure. I see a sand volleyball court would work great, definitely at the Albany beach. There's hardly sand there. You know, all we would have to do is put up a net kind of thing. So that's the easy solution. There's sand right there. Also, I would like to see more water filling stations around Albany to promote drinking water. It's summertime, it's hot, people are thirsty. I would love to see some water filling stations on Solano Avenue somewhere, maybe on the Ohlone Greenway, perhaps. Some water bottle filling stations. They're a little bit more sanitary than just your average drinking fountain because people like to put their mouths all over it. It's kind of gross. But water bottle filling stations are great. It's a great use of our money. I think the Memorial, I want to raise some awareness about the Memorial Park bathrooms. The ADA buttons don't work going in, at least on the men's. And so if we can get that fixed, please, I think we should take some priority on our ADA people. They're not able to get in the bathroom. The button's broken. So we just get someone out there to check out the electricity, fix that, please. That'd be great. Thank you. And I was wondering, I see a lot of, dog poop or feces, I guess, sometimes on the Ohlone Greenway around parks. Is it possible we can have like doggy trash bags posted up every once in a while, every 500 feet, little doggy bags and a little, doggy poop disposable area. So that way it's easier for people to clean up after their dogs, especially in the parks. That would encourage the community to be clean, have clean parks, take care of themselves. There's just not a lot of trash cans available for that. Just a little suggestion there. And another thing, community gardens. I mentioned many times before, I'll mention again, Key Route Boulevard. I know we can't do a community gardens closer to Solano because the veterans kind of take over that area with their trees planted and everything. There's a lot of open space on Key Route, and I foresee in the future, a lot of community garden available there, maybe some fruit trees and things of that nature.
Did you want
So-
another minute, Jeremiah?
Yeah, what's that?
You want another minute? You got it. Yep.
Oh, thank you, Chair Beal. I appreciate it. Yeah, so
Yeah, give him another minute.
thank you. I would just love to see more community gardens around Albany. You know what? I would love to see a community garden in every single park. Just like Memorial Field, there's a little, herb garden or a little thing like that. That way we can have more education classes. We can have, education on how to grow vegetables and just more community gardens everywhere. I think down at the Albany Beach area would be a great place to have some community gardens. There's a lot of open space there. Even street trees. I know we're not allowed to have fruit trees or whatever, but we have those loquats or kumquats. I mean, there's one right on the corner by the police station, and those things drop fruit all over the place, and it makes a mess on the ground. But that's okay. I would just like to see more fruit trees actually that don't cause messes, like maybe lemon trees, because they're solid, they have a peel. When they fall, they don't get squished easily. So I'm just really big on community gardens because food is such a resource and it gives Albany a way to go green. Thank you for the extra minute, Chair.
We got to move on, Jeremiah, but thanks so much for your comments. Okay, is there any, I don't see anybody else with hands up.
No more. There are no more speakers.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Brian, you have your hand up for some reason?
Yeah, for two things. One is it's a little bit late, but for the minutes, there's a typo that should be fixed.
It's too late. We can't discuss an item after it's been approved. I'm sorry. As far as I know, am I right, Isabel?
So then what I would recommend is bring the minutes back to next month, and we can. Commissioner Beal, can I finish my sentence?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you. So what I would ask is if Isabel could let us know if we can go back to it, and if not, if we can bring it up for the next month.
Brian, is it just a typo, like missing a?
It's for the subcommittee for flex courts.
Mm-hmm.
It says that Commissioner Frank and Commissioner Kent are on the subcommittee, but that's not true. It's me and Commissioner Kent are on the subcommittee. It's tonight. The agenda item is to talk about Commissioner Frank. To talk about flex court committee selection. So. But the bottom line is that it has the wrong commissioner named on a subcommittee.
So I think, Chair Beal, I think it's okay to just accept a friendly amendment to the minutes, and we'll correct for the correction of the minutes tonight.
Do we have to go back through the whole thing in order to do that, or could we just what's the process?
I think there was a motion on the floor. It's been accepted. I think you can accept another motion for the correction.
Okay. All right. Before we do that, we did finish public comment, right? And I'm so sorry. That was what confused me about that. I thought Brian was going to make public comment. So we're going to revisit the minutes. And I guess it's accepted because not everyone was present. And then Brian's going to make an amendment to the minutes. And then, all right, so how about Brian, you make a motion that we approve the minutes with the amendment.
Okay. I move that we approve the minutes with an amendment that corrects item 6.2 that says the subcommittee for Flex Court includes Commissioner Frank and Commissioner Kent to be instead say includes Commissioner Martin and Commissioner Kent.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Yeah, and I'm bothered because Commissioner Kent has his hand up over there. Was that just a?
So I would just suggest that public comment is an opportunity for commissioners to talk about something that is not on the agenda. That's what public comment means. So he can speak as a member of the community on something that's not on the agenda, just as Brian did.
No, but what Kent had, okay, so Kent had his hand up, and now you started talking, and we have a motion on the floor, and I think the rules are we have to take it, but I was just worried I hadn't taken his kind. So let's hear the motion, and then, because it's on the floor, those are the rules, so I have to take a roll call vote, and if there's a reason, unless Brian wants.
But there can be discussion on the motion. There can
Oh,
be,
that's right. Yeah, thank you.
If Commissioner Kent wants to discuss the motion on the floor, he can.
Oh, okay. I was confused because he had his hand up before that. So, Kent, did you have a comment and then Abbott?
No, I want to talk about something else.
Okay, so Abbott then. Commissioner Abbott, I'm just short.
I'm just seconding the motion. We can proceed.
Oh, I thought someone else seconded the motion. Okay. All right. Well, then we're ready to go. We're ready to hear the roll call vote.
Commissioner Abbott,
Yes.
Commissioner Armendariz,
Abstain.
Commissioner Chang Frank,
Abstain.
Commissioner Kent,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Price,
Yes.
Chair Beal.
Yes. Okay, so thank you so much for bringing that up. And it was a question of the placement, and I have been told that once you voted on an item, you cannot bring it up for discussion again, but I guess there's some exceptions. So then the next item would be announcements. And I think that's why, Commissioner Kent, you have an announcement? We usually do staff first, though. Is it you had an announcement, or are we carrying over from something else?
Well, can we not make comment not about a particular public comment, but after the public comment, can we make comments, or do I have to wait to make announcements?
You cannot make comments about a comment.
I know I cannot make something directly, but
no, I don't think so. That's a violation.
We're getting caught up in bureaucracy here. All right. I will wait till I can speak and let me know when I can do that.
Yeah, well, you can do it during the announcements, but you can't respond to I think that's for the staff. So does staff have any announcements or want to respond to any of the public comment?
The other thing I just want to say about public comment, if a commissioner wants to, the recommendation is not to engage in a dialogue with the public, but if there's a comment that you'd like to make without going into a discussion with the whole commission, that is fine.
Great, thanks. That's what I'd like to do. Brian, Chair Beal, is that acceptable?
Go ahead, Jim.
So there was a comment about some repairs at the park that need to be made. And I want to remind people that you can go onto the public website and under services and mark that, because there are a lot of things that break and they don't often get caught. One of them is the light in that same restroom takes about 1.5 minutes to turn on. So if you go in at night, it won't light for about 1.5 minutes. Meanwhile, people are fumbling around in the dark. So there's a site on the I think it's on the first page of the city website. It says services on the bottom. You click on that and you can mark something. So that should go out. Everybody should be aware of that. Secondly, Commissioner Beal, I really appreciate your attention to the Brown Act and formalities, but I just want to also remind you, we can set as much time as we want for people to speak. It's up to us. And we usually set it at lower, like 1 or 2 or 3 minutes, because that's expected. There's a lot of people to speak. But if we only have 1 to 2, 3 people, there's no reason to keep it that short. So we should probably want to engage and hear what people have to say rather than.
I think now I'm a little confused because you're transitioning from different things. You're transitioning from talking about the public comments someone made to procedures in the commission. I guess what I would say there is we have that latitude, but that's not necessarily the only criteria, because we all have lives here, so I have to also consider how long the meeting's going to be. In this case, someone asked for it, and I felt, we only had 2 speakers, so it was the right thing to do to give it to them. And I didn't see we had a full agenda, but if we had a full agenda, I might have had a different decision. Go ahead, you can talk it.
That's it.
Brian, or Commissioner Martin?
Yes, thank you. I had for the public comment, I wanted to, we can't discuss what people were saying, but we can, I would encourage the person who spoke about flex courts having to do with sand to email the commission about sand courts because that hasn't come up much, to tell us something about that, and to let them know, just to answer their question about the agenda. The flex court item is just the definition of it is to make the courts that we already have more multi-use, and we don't have any sand courts, so it would be the basically the asphalt various courts that we have around town. So just to address her questions, and then Susan Schwartz had a lot to talk about, but she did send an email, and so I read her statement, and so I wanted to make sure that staff looked into a few things that were there. One was the concern that the Coordinates Creek stakeholders are meeting in private, and if Isabel could address why the meetings don't have any public input, and if there's a way to get public input for those. Ms. Schwartz said that there has been 3 years now, I guess, where they've been requesting more input into those and haven't had any success. So wanted to find out what's going on there and if there's a good reason for that, or if that's an oversight. And then the two other things that were in the letter I thought should be addressed. One is, which she also mentioned tonight, was the path update. So from 8th to 10th Street. And if staff has a brief thing they can tell us now about what the city's up to, or something, an announcement we've missed, or if that, that would be a future agenda item. And then the last thing is, if staff could, there was the San Francisco Bay Regional Water Quality Board, Friends of Five Creeks, they said they submitted a statement to that board about sea level rise in Albany bulb. So if the city could answer if the city is aware of that process and if the city has submitted anything.
So that sounded like about a dozen things you just asked for. Were you expecting that now and as part of our open comment, or is our, I mean, I think the thing to do here is just say, ask the staff if they have any comment on what the commenter asked. I mean, do we have any information we can updates or anything we can fill her in on, or?
Not at this time. I'll have to do research on the 3 items. The letter came late, so I wasn't able to, go back and ask other staff in the city for the information.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Does anyone else have any announcements?
I would just ask Isabel, can you, if you email Friends of Five Creeks, can you CC us, or can you tell us at the next meeting? What do you think would happen there?
Well, you can certainly, what I can do is provide an update via email to Friends of Five Creeks and BCC the commissioners.
Okay, thank you.
On that response. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other comments from commissioners? Did the staff have any announcements? And the staff usually goes first. Is there any staff announcements?
Yes, I have a brief announcement regarding the fire on Albany Hill that happened at the end of June. On June 26, 2022, the Albany Hill area experienced 2 fires, one near Cleveland and Washington Avenues, and another in the wildland area of Albany Hill. No structural damage or injuries were reported. The city would like to recognize the preparation, training, and mitigation efforts done by city departments and neighboring agencies that helped to quickly contain the fires. An initial statement from the city of Albany regarding the fires was provided June 29th, which can be found in the news section of the city website. A larger assessment of the incident is currently being conducted, and more information will be provided to community members when the assessment has been completed. As for access to the hill, there is caution tape around the private parcel where the fire occurred, but the city-owned portion of the hill is accessible to the public without restriction.
One item on my part that I forgot to mention is the first Tuesday in August is National Night Out. A number of the blocks in the city will be sort of closed, closed to through traffic. So I'd encourage anybody out there to, if your own block isn't having one, maybe find out if one of your neighboring blocks. It's a good opportunity to get to know your neighbors and make a safer community. So anyone else? Any other announcements?
Yes, Chair Bill, I do.
Yes.
Thank you very much, commissioners.
Yeah.
Last week we hosted our 4th of July concert in the park. It seemed like it was well received by the community. There was a nice crowd and a fantastic band. Our department is now actively planning 2 more concerts, and they are scheduled for Saturday, August 27th, and Saturday, September 24th. Not only are we looking to schedule fun and entertaining bands, but we're also looking to add food vendors at both events. For more information to come out soon on the city website, we'll also be posting banners and posters throughout the community as well. Next Thursday, the Art Committee is inviting the community to an opening celebration for the Albany Sculpture Loan Program's first art piece, public art piece. The artwork Barred Spiral by Jeff Downing is on display on the Ohlone Greenway at the corner of Masonic and Washington Avenues. The event on Thursday, July 21st, starts at 2 p.m. Finally, we're putting the finishing touches on our next activity guide, and that guide will be distributed and posted online sometime in mid-August. This guide will include programs and services that are offered from all city departments. And that concludes my announcements, and thank you very much.
Good. Commissioner Abbott.
All right, just continuing speaking about events, I just wanted to mention that the Solano Avenue Strollish is coming up on July 24th is the summer Strollish. There'll be live music, a few vendors, and then the merchants along Solano Avenue are planning special things that day as well. So that's Sunday, July 24th on Solano Avenue. Thank you very much.
Okay, speak now or forever hold your peace, or at least until September. Okay. I guess we don't have any presentations tonight. That's the bad news. It looks like, I guess that was Commissioner Price is going to recluse herself. Was that you or Amanda? Who's going to recluse themselves from the tree removal? Someone?
Yeah, me.
Amanda Reeves. Okay. My apologies. I knew it was someone on the commission. So I'd ask you to turn off. You could continue to attend the meeting. Just mute your microphone and turn off your video. And then we're going to, and you can call in as a resident during or as a public commenter. So let's, do we have a staff report? John, you're mute. John, we can't hear you.
Hi.
Hi, John.
Where am I?
You're not happy after that fire, huh?
It wasn't as bad as it could have been. So, okay, I'm going to start share screen. And let's see. Am I on? Is the screen up?
Yeah, it's there, man.
Loop. Okay. So I have one street tree removal application for 824 Ramona. The property owner applied for removal of a New Zealand Christmas tree, Metrosteros excelsa, and the tree was posted and mailers sent out on June 28th. New Zealand Christmas tree. The the reason this wasn't included in the last batch, this is sidewalk repair related. And the reason it wasn't included, the property owner called, I don't know when, but after the last meeting and wanted me to look at the tree again. And I took a closer look at it and I could see a lot of dieback in the crown. The sidewalk damage is really extensive. I don't think I took a good look at it when I was doing my inspection of all the sidewalk repair locations. This tree's in a 27-inch planting strip. There was some previous sidewalk repair done at the time that the current owner moved into the property. Root pruning will be very extensive and I feel will destabilize the tree. And as I mentioned, the tree is in fair health already. It's not in very good health. Usually this is a really robust tree. And the property is part of the sidewalk program. So here's the tree. It's not a fully mature tree. It's a young, medium aged Metris sideros. This is a view looking up into the crown. You can see it's pretty thin in the center of the crown. There's a lot of smaller dead branches. Generally, the center of the crown has died back. It's not really there anymore. You can see some of the dead wood going up the one stem here. While I was there, there was a branch that was hanging in the tree that I had to take out. That's the branch. So here's what the sidewalk looks like. And again, this sidewalk's been repaired and patched a couple times. So there's some patching here. But if you look at the car behind it and you look at this picture, how high this sidewalk has been lifted, it's got a good, at least a foot and a half raise. And as it stands right now, it's really in bad shape. This is a pretty dangerous sidewalk. This is looking from the walkway going out to the street, and you can see how the sidewalk is lifted above their walkway area a little bit, but over where the tree root is underneath the sidewalk, there's a really drastic lift there. And as well, this whole slab has been lifted and sloped in towards the property. You can see these pavers in the planting strip, which is basically where the level of the sidewalk should be. This runs the entire length of the property. And the reason why I don't think this tree is going to survive sidewalk replacement and root pruning is that the trunk of it is basically right up against where the sidewalk is. And this root right in the middle, right up against the sidewalk, is lifting the sidewalk about a foot there. And then they need to excavate down another 6 inches to properly lay a new sidewalk. So we're talking about a foot and a half, maybe 2 foot of this root, which is basically the trunk flare, the root flare, basically part of the trunk, which would leave a big wound in that tree. And this is looking towards the property. You can see, you can look for your missing kitty underneath this sidewalk. It's lifted so much, there's a big gap there. You can see how it's been patched and it's still lifting again. A little closer shot of that. Another shot of that. And then on the curb side, you can see where it's lifted the curb up quite a bit. There's some drainage pipes there. That's going to need to be repaired at some point as well. Again, a different angle looking down the sidewalk. You can see the roots out, filling it up this whole planting strip here, just starting to push against the curb on that section. This is what a mature New Zealand Christmas tree in the area. This is actually Presidio, San Francisco. So there's 3 of them here, but even so, the middle one has the more flowers on it. And that's what a mature sized tree looks like. And that's what this tree wants the width of the trunk that this tree is shooting for, that it would want to reach at maturity. And again, it's another example of the wrong tree that was planted in this location. So recommendation is to approve the removal. Any questions?
questions from the commission? Commissioner Kent.
John, on in this image, the two camphor trees farther down the road, both had been root pruned and the sidewalk was pushed farther away from the curb. Is that possible to do here?
Well, there's not a lot of room, and the property owner doesn't want to allow the sidewalk to be curved in to their property. If I could find a better shot of this.
Is there property on the far side of the sidewalk, or is it 8 feet in? Often it's 8 feet off the curb.
I'm not following.
The edge of the sidewalk is not necessarily the edge of the property line. Often it's 8 feet from the curb, not.
Yes.
It's usually 2 feet from the sidewalk in Albany, 2 feet inside.
Another couple feet in from the sidewalk, yeah. Yeah, but that would also, where this is positioned, it would include having to do some work around their walkway to the house, which is not something that the city includes in the sidewalk repair. The property owner is not really amenable to having this pushed back onto their property. And I think even still, if you look at the lift of this, this is new sod. They've been putting sod over sod over sod because there's big roots in the front yard there. And this root is extended all the way through here. It's really, there's gonna be too much root removed from this tree. Even if we go out, typically excuse me, the curve out goes out 6 inches to a foot at the most. And even at that point, you're still cutting into the trunk flare of this tree. I don't know if you could see a little bit better here. There are roots going into their front yard. The level has been raised, I think, after layers of sod that's installed. You can see this is brand new sod here. So there are roots extending out into the yard as well. So.
Can you zoom in on that back tree with the camphor is? And how are those doing? Are they?
Oops.
Looks like it's also a narrow. Maybe it's not a full width sidewalk there too.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. You know, eventually the camphor is not going to be living there for its full life, but.
Is that all, Commissioner Kent, or did you have more?
Well, that's all my questions. I have some comments, but I guess that'll be later.
Yeah, let's stick to questions because we want to. So my question, but along the lines of Commissioner Kent, but maybe a different idea. Is it possible that we could take out the concrete and do like some sort of rubber sidewalk and kind of wrap over the tree root so that essentially we didn't have to prune the tree and then kind of wrap over it and maybe cut in a little bit to give the tree root? Is it something like that conceivable or just cost prohibitive, or what do you think?
That's not really a question for me, but from what I know, for one thing, that's not part of the city sidewalk repair to install rubber or alternate sidewalks. They're somewhat experimental. They're not really proven to work well. And we'd be leaving the sidewalk in the hands of the property owner. And if there's problems with that, we've left the problem for the property owner at that point. So that's not something the city does.
Okay, Commissioner Martin?
Thanks. Yeah, I had I think is a quick question. We've heard residents concerned that a lot of trees are coming before the commission for removal that had to do with sidewalk repair. And I was wondering if John could give us some estimate of what percentage of trees are recommended for removal when there's a sidewalk repair versus trees that are able to be saved with a little bit of root pruning or moving the sidewalk around. Like roughly what percentage of these repairs end up with a tree removal?
That's a good question. I don't have an exact answer, but less than 10% of the tree. I mean, most of the sidewalk repair locations are due to trees and tree roots. And we're doing 50, about 50 per phase, I believe. So we're this, I think this is maybe the fourth or fifth tree we've looked at for this phase of sidewalk repair.
Okay, thank you.
Any other commissioners? Okay, well, I think, is there comments from the members of the public? Looks like Jeremiah. Can we let him in?
Thank you, Chair Bill. Yeah, so I am all for fixing our sidewalks and making them safe to walk because for many reasons. I mean, one is my grandma, when she was alive on Cornell, there's this tree out 3 houses down in front of Jean's house and in front of the lady with her landscaping company. There's that big sidewalk hump, and my grandma actually fell twice on that, and she hurt her knee, and she ended up having to have knee surgery and getting a whole knee replacement. She tripped and fell on a sidewalk in Albany, you know. So I mean, I'm the arborist. I'm with you. I was laughing when you said, "Look how high the sidewalk is compared to the level of the car." I mean, I'm with you on that. We need to fix our sidewalks. And I know I don't like cutting down trees at all. You know, sometimes it's necessary, though, to make it safer for our community. So, you know, I don't like cutting trees down. But yeah, once a certain percentage of the crown is infected or whatnot, it's got to go. And that was a nice car. I mean, I'm still looking at it right now. And if a branch falls on that car, you know, hopefully they got insurance. But anyway, I'm not trying to get too off track here. The goal is to fix all the sidewalks in Albany and make our I guess it's considered open space, you know, good for recreation. Hey, that's kind of 2 in 1, right? Walking on the sidewalks is kind of recreation. You know, you go outside and take a walk. That's recreation. So it's kind of a 2 in 1. It fixes our open space and our sidewalks. So I just don't want to take up too much more time. You know, let's fix this sidewalk. Good catch, whoever caught this one. Good catch. And yeah, so let's do it. Let's keep our sidewalks good. Thank you.
I don't see any more members of the public with their hands up. So comments from commissioners. Commissioner Martin.
Yeah, one comment was when John, you mentioned that the homeowner isn't interested in having the sidewalk come onto their property. I think what Commissioner Kent was saying is that the city actually owns or has the right of way for a foot or two past the sidewalk onto each lot. And so I know in a perfect world, the homeowner is, happy with whatever the city's doing, but that shouldn't be a deal breaker, right? Because the city actually has the right to put the sidewalk into that foot or two of space. Is that correct, John?
There is some more public right of way that extends in towards the front yard, yes, in almost all locations. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Part of the problem, again, this tree's showing some dieback, it's showing some decline. This tree is, you saw the tree that's in the Presidio, which is basically similar climate, maybe a little better soil there, but more porous soil. Here we have the clay soil, which really pushes roots, forces roots to grow really shallow. So this tree, I expect just to, if it were left in place, it would just continue to grow. It would continue to break up the sidewalk. Probably within 10 years, it would cause more sidewalk damage again, even if this tree
Okay.
If the sidewalk were curved out like that, as well as the other side, we have to consider too, the curb and the street.
Yeah, so thank you for clarifying that. I should clarify what I meant was that I'm actually in favor of removing the tree. I don't think, I agree with you, John, that I don't think moving the sidewalk into the, deeper into the lot would actually fix this particular situation. But I just wanted to clarify that the city has the right to do that, and I don't think the city has to get permission from the property owner. So I don't think we should set that precedent that the property owner can stop that kind of sidewalk modification if that was something that could preserve a tree.
Well, I think we don't like to be heavy-handed. We work with the property owners. You know, in most cases, if it's really necessary, then the city would do something, but usually with the agreement of the property owner. So I don't know, that's legal matters, not really my expertise, but generally, as I understand, that's how we work here.
Commissioner Kent, do you want to comment?
Yeah, so a couple comments on this. Yeah, I think I'll start by saying I agree the tree probably has to come out, but I do know that, you know, we've run into this a lot where there is really very little room to grow trees in Albany. So we're looking at every possible way to make it work. And even if we take this tree out, we'd probably want to put another tree in. And do we want to put it back into this 27-inch planting space and have the same issue? Or do we want to plant a very small tree? It seems like slowly, one by one, the canopy's leaving the street. We have these large camphors, had a lot of beauty, but we know they do havoc on the sidewalk. We're going to take them out one by one because they destroy the sidewalk and it keeps from being accessible and people trip. But also we're now losing that beautiful shade. We're losing that ambiance, the aesthetic. We're losing all of that. So it seems like you really need to look for ways to provide more space. And I agree, this tree probably too late to do that. Moving the sidewalk in towards the neighbor and pinching, or towards the adjacent house and pinching it down to provide more growing space for a tree is probably something we want to do wherever we can. In this case, you're right that the homeowner has a lawn there. He's probably irrigating it, so he probably has irrigation heads right up against the sidewalk, which would have to be cut and moved, and so there's that complication. But there's also the complication that he's irrigating that, and so therefore the tree is going there to get that water. So he's, in a way, that use of that landscape in front is encouraging that heaving by providing a water source for the tree. So it's kind of a complex thing, and I don't think we should be heavy-handed, but the same way, I don't think we should be this is a tree that benefits all, not just the homeowner. So it's really a decision that's bigger than the homeowners. And we'd hope they come to the table if we were to decide to keep a tree like this and move the sidewalk, the owner would, hopefully an owner would understand it's for the better of the street, not just their own driveway. So that's just kind of something I want to say as a blanket statement. I think you're right. In this case, this tree is definitely cutting it to save the curb or to replace the curb, and bringing the sidewalk down is going to be too severe. It looks to me too, John, that it's not going to be stable. So those are my thoughts.
Sure. Well, part of the sidewalk policy now is to curve out sidewalks, even if there's a tree or remove a tree to.
Right. So if we're going to repair the sidewalk, can we do that here? Can we automatically just make it wider?
We're going to arc it out a little bit, yes. Okay. So there'll be a 4-foot pinch point on this sidewalk, which is typical of what we're doing.
So do you know how much more space we'll get then by doing that?
6 inches to a foot. I think the sidewalk's about 5 feet, so we can pinch it to 4 feet. So I think we get another foot there.
Okay, that's something.
And then,
9 inches, yeah.
As far as the irrigation, this is a problem everywhere. People have front yards with landscape, they irrigate. That's where the trees go to look for water. And this is just a problem in general and anywhere. There's
more so with lawns though than other plantings, right?
Yeah. I agree. And then as far as the large trees, large trees are also mature. These are trees, for one, they've been planted in the wrong place. They're the wrong species for the places they've been planted. They've been planted 70s, 80s maybe. So these trees are hitting 50 years old or so. This is a good long lifespan for an urban tree. We definitely will replant a tree here, as we do wherever almost every place we take out a tree. And I've been thinking a lot about this lately. I think there's a lot of our canopy is going to be from smaller sized trees. We just don't have the room. Whoever planted camphors and New Zealand Christmas trees in a 27-inch planting strip was not thinking for the future or thinking about it much at all, really.
And for the record, it was not a landscape architect. Civil engineers did the planting of streets back then, so put it on there.
Yeah.
We've kind of, Commissioner Kent, you've stayed on this quite a while now. So do you have any more questions or comments?
No, I'll get up.
Okay. What I wanted to comment on this subject line, I think this is the third tree removal. I remember this topic coming up with the 2 feet. I think probably 90% of the homeowners in Albany are totally unaware of this issue. I didn't know until I had a site survey, and I looked at it and I said, what? And it took us a while to believe it, but I think maybe it dates back to the 2,500 square foot lots. If we're going to do something with it, if you're going to take away that 2 feet, it's going to cause an uproar. And in none of the cases, the tree removals we've talked about, would that actually help? And this one, this tree, the problem is right by the sidewalk. It's not on the other side of the sidewalk. So I think on that one, and it's also, I want to comment, there's a difference between the tree removal process and the tree planting process. And I think a lot of the apprehension out there is, well, what is this going to look like after we get a new tree? And I think there's an opposition to the tree removal because of what the result of the tree replacement is going to be. And I think we just need more community process around that part, which is, it's actually up to the homeowner. They're the most impacted, but I think maybe getting more input from the neighbors. So with that, I'll move on to Commissioner Frank.
Thanks. Hello, can you hear me? Is it okay? I don't know. Okay.
Sounds good. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I would actually agree with what both Commissioners Kent and Beal said about being thoughtful, and what Commissioner Beal said about the public process, and what Commissioner Kent said about just the fact that this is a public good, and I don't want to just assign too much sort of, in fact, power to the adjacent homeowner in deciding how our streets look, just because, they have a particular sort of preference. I think and I understand, John, this idea of not wanting to plant something that's, not going to, that's going to just go ahead and buckle the sidewalk. But I do really think we need to be thoughtful about what we do plant. I think just automatically planting a small tree that's only going to grow to a certain size and giving up on a canopy is not the way I want to go. And I would hope that we have a public process about, especially with somebody like Commissioner Kent on our commission, who has a professional expertise in this area, to really think about how can we maximize canopy, and also take a little bit from the property that the city does own in order to expand the base, but to really maximize canopy, because that street that tree is on, it's going to slowly, if we say, oh, every camphor is going to have to come down because it's old, it's going to look completely different. Right now, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous street. If we cut these, we continue to cut these big mature trees down, it's just going to completely change the face of the city. And I'm looking forward to that city tree planting process, because I think we have too much sort of hodgepodge decisions that we're making about what tree comes out and what tree goes back in. And those decisions are going to last for decades when we make them that way.
Mr. Price?
Can I comment? I encourage the largest tree that I think will fit in an area when someone's making the choice and asking my opinion for that, or even if I get an application, they want to Ray Hartman ceanothus. I say, this is not going to work. You know, a lot of these species don't work. There are some smaller trees that have nice canopies. The arbutus eventually has a fairly good canopy. The loquat, the Japanese loquat, has a fairly nice canopy. Once it's mature, you feel like you're under a large canopy tree, at least, you know. These are the kind of trees I see that we should be planting more of, that I think we should be planting more of. I'm also looking into some newer species that are more drought tolerant and that are rated for low sidewalk damage potential. There's a few, I have a few oak trees on the greenway that I planted that are possible contenders for some of the locations. They're become tall trees, but they don't have the sidewalk damage potential that some of the trees that we're talking about often have, like this tree and camphors and liquid ambers. So yeah, as far as the look of the city and the streets changing, it's going to change. This is just, you know, we can't, these trees won't be here forever, and we're not clear cutting. We're taking them out as they really need to come out. I think a lot of the trees we look at in some other cities, they would take it out, no questions. Destroying the sidewalk, it has to come out. We're going to replace the sidewalk. So we're doing our best to give the trees at least a chance. Some of these trees that we're leaving, I think, over the next few years may in fact die. We lose a couple here and there that are because of sidewalk damage. I'm looking at a couple that are looking really sad, a couple camphors and camphor on the top of my head that I can think of. But yeah, you know, we're trying to keep them going as long as we can. Most of the trees, we're doing our best, but it's difficult. Albany is difficult. We weren't a forested area originally. We have hard packed clay soil that soaks up the moisture and becomes this slushy mud in the winter. And then in the summer, it just dries and shrinks and becomes concrete. And it's really rough on trees. So we're a little bit limited to, it's hard to find good species. I'm trying to find for these 27-inch parking strips. It's really, really hard to find a good species. But again, there's a few that I recommend more often than not. So.
Okay, Commissioner Price, I'm going to slip in a couple comments to follow up on a previous discussion, and then Commissioner Abbott. Commissioner Price.
I guess I'd like to, echo what Commissioners Kent and Chang Frank said. But I'm also curious, John, if there's, and I know this is more challenging than pushing the sidewalk in, and I'm not talking about this specific instance, but just as you're looking at replanting trees, you know, are there opportunities to actually push the curb out and widen our planting areas, especially if as we're looking at bioretention, adding in bioretention and curb extensions and things like that, and actually, you know, selectively replace what's parking maybe with bigger tree planting areas.
Well, I think that's the issue, replacing the parking.
Yeah.
Where there's more and more ADUs, which means more and more families, occupants per address, per property. To me, there seems to be more cars out there. We keep hoping there's less cars and people are using their bicycles more, which may be true, but they still have their car. And that's just my opinion. It's not up to me to make that call. And I that would be great. In an ideal world, if I could call all the shots, sure, we'd create the large space to fit these big trees first, and then fill in around it, fill in our buildings, our parking and whatever. But you know, we have to work with what we have to work with. There are some cases where the curb gets pushed out a little bit, but we're not taking up parking space. We're just giving the tree a little bit more space. So it basically has a couple more years to live, I think, is the effect of that. But, so
more comments, Commissioner Price?
No, thank you.
Okay. And what I wanted to come back to, what Commissioner Chang Frank and I were talking about, the tree replacement process. I guess some bad news and good news, probably some real good news. Kind of the bad news is, I think the reason why the homeowner is the most important person is the homeowner, even though they don't own the land, they have liability over it. So if someone trips on the sidewalk, they're going to sue the homeowner. So they have the most to lose or gain from the selection. That said, so does the rest of the block. So the good news that I have for you, and John may remember this story, that on my block, I first found out about this street tree program through the National Night Out program. And so, and I think this is a really great way for neighbors to talk about these kind of issues on your block, you know, and kind of come to maybe and have an opportunity to influence the homeowner. What happened in our case, though, we didn't have a lot of them. And a neighbor came to us, she was getting an ADU. She showed up at the block party with a stack of the applications. She accidentally added John to our block email list. We had to later take him off, but that I think may end up being, you know, that kind of block structure, because everybody on the block is going to have to live with the same trade. But ultimately, it's kind of the homeowner and the sidewalk users are the people that are going to lose the most if it's bad. And then yes, there is definitely a aesthetic proportion. So that's what I had to say. On to you, Commissioner Abbott, and then Commissioner Kent.
Thank you, Chair Bill. I just wanted to thank John for what I thought was a very extensive and complete tree report. I noticed there's a lot more photos. The things were there, and I know that you've gotten a little feedback in the past, and I really think you've responded to it. So I really wanted to thank you for the extra work. Thanks.
Commissioner Kent.
I just want to follow up on some of the comments made. I think Commissioner Price's idea about bringing the curb out is actually really smart. And especially in this case, you can't see it because of garbage cans, but that's really right in front of the trees where the driveway starts. And it could be a little bit of a bulb out like you often have with streets right at the corner. You could have a little bulb out there and bring the sidewalk in and get a pretty good planting space. Now for this tree, it's too late. But those sorts of opportunities can be done with a little massaging. I'm not sure how the process works, but it's not John's job to design these things. He's got to look at the practical issues of this tree, whether it has to come out or not. Maybe I'm wrong, John. Maybe it is your job. I don't know, but I don't think you're redesigning sidewalks and curbs, right? You're just kind of making determinations on trees.
I just kind of want to interrupt here because the topic here is removing this tree. You're talking about what's going to happen when the tree is replacement. Is the removal of this tree contingent upon what you're talking about? Because we've been talking about it for some time now.
Well, I think I'm trying to talk about the process and how to resolve issues.
That's not what this meeting is about. This meeting is about, are we going to approve or deny street tree removal? I think this is good to talk about the process, but we're not talking about the process for street tree removal. We're talking about replacement. And anyway, how about, let's finish this up, but let's stick to whether we're going to approve or deny
I can answer pretty quickly. Yes, I work with the sidewalk repair program manager. We go out together and look at a lot of these. We were out to look at this, and we look at many others. And we just had a pre-construction meeting with the new contractor that's going to do the next phase of sidewalk repair. So I have some say in working, and our sidewalk manager is really trying his best to figure out how to preserve trees. He's very much a tree lover also, and he's doing his best to do that. So.
Okay. Does anyone else want to talk about Commissioner Martin?
I was going to make a motion to approve the tree removal. So I move to approve the tree removal as I see no more discussion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Abbott?
Yes.
Commissioner Armendariz is recused. Commissioner Chang Frank,
Yes.
Commissioner Kent,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Price,
Yes.
Chair Beal.
Yes. And the motion is approved. So I think that means we go on to the next agenda. I wanted to bring this up. Okay, so 6.2. Yeah, 6.2 is not the one I want to bring this up on. 6.2 is the member selection. So I guess, do we have a staff report on this? So, is there a staff report? Or just give everyone a Reader's Digest version of what's going on? Or do you want me to do that?
Well, this item was put on the agenda at the request of Commissioner Chang Frank, who I think would like to be on the commission, on the subcommittee.
Okay. Well, maybe this is as simple as, can we have a motion to add Commissioner Chang Frank to the subcommittee?
I will move that we add Commissioner Chang Frank to the subcommittee.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, can we have a roll call vote?
Discussion? Can we have
If you want, yeah.
I just want to add Commissioner Chang Frank. We wanted to add you, but we don't want to add you when you weren't here. So just make that clear.
Thank you.
I told them they should, and in fact, that was the perfect time. But nonetheless, they would.
And I would also add that was involved in this minutes discussion, and there actually was behind the assistant manager and I had an email discussion about this item too, because I had thought it was unfair that one of them was one way and the other. But anyway, that said, let's have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Abbott,
was that a yes?
I'm sorry. Yes, I guess I hit mute. Yeah, there we go.
excuse me. Commissioner Armendariz,
Yes.
Commissioner Chang Frank,
Yes.
Commissioner Kent,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Price,
Yes.
and Chair Beal.
An enthusiastic yes. Welcome aboard. And Commissioner Chang Frank is now a member of the subcommittee on flex cards. So this one, what I want to mention, and this was another one where there was a little topic discussion. I said at the beginning of the meeting that, that for the public comment, that you had to talk about things that were not on the agenda. It's my understanding there may not be public comment on this item because we don't even know if there is a report. But does anyone actually have a report? No.
Chair Beal, the best thing to do would be to ask each subcommittee individually if they have a report, and then take public comment at the end of the entire item. So
I like
after
that
you've
idea.
asked,
Yeah.
but reports from the subcommittees, then you can take public comment for all the subcommittee reports that were.
Yeah. I think that's what we talked about. I forgot because it was sort of a confusing topic. So, okay, Commissioner Kent and Commissioner Beal and Commissioner Kent, do you have a report on public restrooms? No, we don't. Unless you do and you didn't tell me.
No, we do not.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I have a feeling that Commissioner Kent, Commissioner Martin, and the just added. Commissioner Chang Frank, do you have a subcommittee report?
No.
No. I was afraid of that. You hadn't even had your members selected yet. How could you ever report it? Okay, how about community engagement? Armendariz in Price.
No, we don't.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see. So then, yeah. My apologies. For anyone who wanted to comment on any of these three topics, as a public comment or otherwise, and wants to do so now, I'm going to open that up to, is there anybody here? Does anybody, for some reason I can't see. Does anyone want in?
Yes.
Let's let them in. And this will be back to 3 minutes, whoever it is.
It's Izzy Brown. It's Izzy Brown again, talking about the flex court and the sand court. And I just wanted to let you all know, thank you, Commissioner Martin. I did resend the email that I sent on May 20th and got a response that it was received by the commission. I resent it again with an updated version of my proposal. And so please look for that. Thank you.
Is there anybody else out there in TV land that wants to talk?
No one else has their hand raised.
I don't know why. My computer is acting funny with this one. Okay. So I guess there's no action item. So that's what makes this an interesting item regarding public comment. Future agenda items. And our next meeting, well, I'm not allowed to say that yet, I guess, because this is 7. But is there anything like that anyone wants to talk about at the next agenda or the next commission meeting? Okay, well.
I'm just, and I think that perhaps Commissioner Martin brought this up at the beginning of the meeting, but I'm just curious what role this body can play in helping the Friends of Five Creek and the city maintain their creeks, opening communication with UC and what have you. Is there anything that we can do? Would it help to have an agenda item on that, for instance?
Well, I think that's what the subcommittee is for. I think that's, you can chime in, Commissioner Martin, but I think that's the idea is this subcommittee is going to look into this engagement process. And then we'll get a subcommittee report.
That's not what I was asking. She's raised some very specific concerns, and she's come to this meeting for decades.
Right.
And I've certainly seen her more than 10 years. We very much like to be responsive to her concerns. I'm just wondering if there's a role for this body, and I'm not sure where that question goes. Perhaps Commissioner Martin has a suggestion for me.
I did. We do have oversight in some of these things, and it is on our work in our master plan to engage with community members and including Friends of Five Creeks, and so all of that is there. So that's why I think it's important for us, if we're hearing from the public and from these nonprofit groups that feel like something isn't happening well or isn't happening at all, that we make sure that that the group hears back from staff and that we find out how staff can report to us. So that's why I asked if Isabel would respond at the next meeting publicly, or respond to Friends of Five Creeks and CC or BCC us, so that we would see what the answers to those questions were and that we could bring those up, at a further meeting if they didn't seem satisfactory. I think that's an important role that we play. And so Isabel said that she'll send the email out. So we should look forward to looking at that. And then, if there's still something going on, add something to a future agenda item. And I guess Commissioner Abbott was asking, well, what would that look like if it was an agenda item? So I think right now the email would satisfy me anyway. If people have ideas for how to turn that into an agenda item, this would be a good time to bring that up.
Well, I think that's what you talk about. It usually falls into staff reports. I mean, we have the staff reports on any communication they've had, but again, the subcommittee, I think that's the point. We've got 3 specialists from the commission that are going to work in between the meetings and look at the process to see if we come up with a better process for what we're talking about. And I think that's, and that's, so there's going to be something very close to what you're talking about on the next agenda with the subcommittee reports, if the subcommittee has it. But I mean, does that make any sense, or are you looking for more than that?
If I just may say something here regarding the meeting that between the jurisdictions, I think there had been one scheduled originally, but it got postponed due to COVID. there was an uptick of COVID cases, so it felt like it was it was better to not have the meeting. It was meant to be an in-person meeting, if I remember correctly. So there are plans to have a meeting. I just don't have the information as to when the next meeting will be scheduled. But I will share that with you as soon as I have it.
And in general, I don't think it's fair to expect the staff to answer a question on the fly. I mean, I think, it takes time to research these things. There's a lot to know about the city. And I think, but to your point, Ryan, it's are things falling through the cracks? Are we saying, well, we'll research it and then we're not? So maybe, and that's one of the things I'm hoping to see in the subcommittee. It's an improved process for tracking this kind of thing. And anyway, go ahead. You go, Mark.
Yeah, for future agenda items, there's all kinds of things I'd like to hear updates on, but I know they're basically in the works and they'll come before us when they're ready. I do like this item 6.3, the subcommittee reports, just to have, I think Isabel was sent us in an email that this can just be a standing item, that whenever subcommittee, so we don't have to keep requesting it to be on when a subcommittee has enough information, that whenever there is enough information, a subcommittee can just report out. And I think that's great. So we don't have to request that to be added to the agenda. And I was wondering if Isabel could give us a little preview of some of the things that she knows are coming up in the fall, because we don't have an August meeting, right?
That's correct. There's no meeting in August. And I don't have any specific items for September because it's in 2 months. So I will, I would guess that the Prop 68 projects will probably come to the commission in the fall, but I can't really tell you exactly when. We're still working on contracts with the state. So as soon as those are finalized, we'll come up with a timeline for the Prop 68 projects in the parks. And I assume that this is something that the commission will be working sometime in the fall. That's all I have really.
One thing I wanted to say about this, actually about this community engagement thing, and it was one idea I had. We do have this item 5 on the agenda for presentations, which is typically we haven't had any presentations. So one idea I think would be to invite some of these community groups like Friends of Five Creeks, Friends of Albany Hill, these type of groups, invite them to do presentations in that item number 5. And then we'd have a chance to kind of focus on what they're, let them tell us, what's going on. And we'll have time to focus on it as a commission, and get input additional input from the public. I think that would be a starter, if you can't wait till the subcommittee report. Anyway, that was my thought. Does anybody else either agree or disagree with what I just said? Could we maybe invite, I don't know, Susan Schwartz to talk to us?
Well, I would encourage the community engagement subcommittee to think about that as an idea. That sounds like an interesting idea of how to bring.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's an interesting idea. I think one thing to remember, Chair Beal, is that in our minds, it's not just about how these groups engage with the commission, but sort of how the city engages with them and vice versa, sort of beyond this commission. So that was the kind of intent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think one thing I heard from one of the commenters was that, and it's a typical source of confusion, is who do you go to? Whether you go to the Parks and Recreation Department, you go to the Parks and Recreation Commission, and the Parks and Recreation Department, and to some degree the maintenance department, they facilities management, they do a lot of this nuts and bolts work. So it's kind of like that. The commission handles the community relations, and the city does the actual work. So it's that balancing act of, it's really good to just get everybody at the same table. And I think maybe that's the one thing I could think of to kind of maybe help these people be a little more satisfied. But go ahead. Brian.
I was just going to say, I see we do have one member of the public who has a comment on this agenda item.
I guess we do allow that, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's the member of the public? And thanks for pointing it out.
They can suggest future agenda items.
Yeah. Let's. Can we let him in? I don't know why. Yeah. Hello. Dwayne, you're on mute still. Can we unmute him? Can you hear it? You're on mute, Dwayne.
I think it was Jeremiah that had their hand up and then it went down and it's up again.
Oh, I am confused. I can't see the screen for some reason. Jeremiah, there you go. Hello?
Gosh, the host keeps muting me, but I just want to see the Civics Academy come back in Albany. It's been since, what, 2017, I think. So I just, when you guys have time, I know we're getting back from COVID, but I really want to see the Civics Academy come back to the Recreation Department. And I know it's $10 per class and there needs to be 20 people, but I mean, I'm willing to pay the whole $200 and make the class free for the public. I just really want the Civics Academy to come back. It's a great part of Albany. So yeah, Civics Academy. Thank you.
Okay. And was there another? No, there's not. Okay. My apologies for the confusion. I'm just all having some hardware issues here. So, any more thoughts for this? Okay. All right. So then, the next meeting is Thursday, September 8th, 2022. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Hey, good night.
Night.